This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the Gulf of Mexico as their backdrop, broadcasting live from the Margaritaville Resort on Fort Myers Beach, here are the hosts of the dinkiest podcast in America, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Oh, these poor people that have no idea what's going on in the first two tables here. I want to tell you guys that are here on vacation and
you
probably
just
wishing
scared the living
John
daylights
King.
out of these
Wow, that was
folks.
crazy. We do a show here every Saturday. Now, usually we're not inside. We're out on the grass, so we're not disturbing your breakfast. But it rained a little bit today, and so we moved inside, and we were afraid.
Disturbing you or giving them a heart attack.
We were afraid nobody would cheer, so we asked the Councilman John King to come along, and of course, you know, he gets a little overboard, former radio guy. So where are you guys visiting from? Babcock Ranch. What about you guys over here? Michigan. All right. Thank you all for coming down and enjoy your breakfast. I want to say thank you to the folks at the tropical, where was I this morning? I was at the Tropical Shores, Tropical Sands Resort, and for their walk around this morning. It was a great time, and they look, they really, I asked, they live down there, and they gave me the wrong answer.
What's your name again?
I know. And I went down to the South Bridge just to see, you know, where we'd be paying the tolls soon. So the bridge is under construction. So cranes are everywhere down there. So we have our mayor show tomorrow at 11 o'clock at Wahoo Willie. So if you want to change a pace, maybe come on over to Wahoo Willie's tomorrow. They have a great breakfast there, just like they have a great breakfast here. Next Saturday, right after the show, we have the pub crawl, which starts here at 12 o'clock to benefit the Community Foundation. And then on June 22nd, we'll be in Oshkosh, Wisconsin for our annual anniversary show. It's the 6th anniversary show, and we have about 250 folks that have reserved seats for our show in Oshkosh.
And they created a special beer, right? A tropical ale.
They created a hat. They created a shirt. They created a beer just for the show. And the proceeds from the hats and the shirts and the beer will be donated to the Fort Myers Beach Art Association. So a lot of stuff going on.
And I want to thank yesterday, the Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce had their power hour yesterday down in Times Square. And Paradise Parasail was so nice to take us out.
Yep.
And I got to parasail, but you didn't go because you're a big chicken.
I would have gone if I wasn't busy writing the newsletter. I love parasailing.
No, you were a big chicken. And, you know, you get to go up. So any of you folks that are here visiting, when the weather clears off, please go down and parasail.
Look like fun.
Great experience.
So we have a double dose of state representation today, which is going to be nice because, you know, the state is the place that has all the money. And, you know, Fort Myers Beach wants some of that money. So
$50 million so far.
$50 million. Wow. That's a lot of money. Our first guest today is State Representative Spencer Roach. Spencer, come on down. He came down with his mom.
And his brother.
And they were showing off the resort. And Spencer, come on down. It's like walking down that show with, what's that name of that show where they would say, come on down, the price is right. How about Pat Sajak retiring? How sad was that? He got a lot of facial work done, don't you guys think? I mean, he looked like he got some facial work done.
He did it for 41 years.
That's a long time to do one thing.
That's a long time to be doing
I can tell you, I can
something.
guarantee you all this. We're not going to be doing this show for 41 years. That's for sure. I think 4 more years, maybe.
Listen, I'll need a lot of facial work if we go for 40 years.
40 more years. Spencer, how are you, man? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing great. I have what might be the strongest mimosa I've ever had, so there's no telling what's going to happen on the show today.
Sweet.
And Ed, if you could give me 1 minute,
Sure.
I want to say a couple things to some folks in the audience. First of all, Councilman John King, I had no idea you had that kind of range. I want you at every event that I do. He's here with his lovely wife, Chris. So he is leading the charge on the Fort Myers Beach Town Council to bring money back to this community and get our community repaired. So thank you for being here, sir. And then my brother is here. He is a federal agent who was just most recently on assignment in Mexico City, helping the Mexican government fight the drug cartels.
Are they winning that fight?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. You could have him on and ask him about that. And
I think he'll pass on that.
my mother, Wendy, is here, and I would quote the great Abraham Lincoln to say that all that I am or ever will be, I owe to my sainted mother. Proud to tell everyone here and listening that I love you both. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ed.
Is your mom a federal agent too, or no?
If she is, she's undercover, and I can't say.
Federal agent. Wow,
She
you
can't
guys
tell
cover the
you.
whole gamut there, don't you?
Yeah, and not to mention, I served for 20 years in the United States Coast Guard. 5 of those years I was serving right here at Coast Guard Station Fort Myers Beach. That was my first introduction to the Fort Myers Beach community, the first place I ever lived when I moved to Lee County, Fort Myers Beach.
80 years since D-Day.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you think most young people that protest on college campuses even know where the beach landings were?
No, and don't get me started on the state of, I found that sound like an old fogey, but I am deeply worried about this younger generation and whether they even think America is worth defending,
Right.
if in fact they needed to do so. I do worry about that. When you look at the caliber of those 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds that were storming the beach at Normandy, and you look at these kids today who, if they lose Wi-Fi connection for 5 minutes, it's the greatest hardship they've ever seen in their life.
Yes. Yeah. I went back and I rewatched Ronald Reagan's speech at Pointe du Hoc. I mean, if there's one thing that you can do to learn about D-Day, just listen to that speech. It was amazing. And I know President Biden went back there yesterday, to talk about the whole global isolationist thing, which is what Reagan was trying to avoid back then when the Nazis were going crazy, trying to overtake the world. In the 1940s.
Okay, stop showing off.
I know. Well, I know. I just love reading about World War II and how those kids got off those boats, and the minute some of them got off the boats, they just drowned in the water, or they were peppered down by machine guns.
Right. And I think back to, of course, the famous Churchill quote when he said, "Never in the history of mankind has so much been owed to so few by so many." And I do think about that now, and I worry about that. But a lot of those World War II veterans, almost all of them, I think they're down to the single digits, are dying out, and we don't have that remembered history anymore of that time period. And if you don't remember it, you're doomed to repeat it, right?
Yeah. So why did you decide to run for office? And is the State House the first elected office for you?
Well, and tell us a little bit about your history. So you're a lawyer.
Yeah, I was I was in the Coast Guard for 20 years. I was
He's a lawyer too.
Well, go ahead.
So I was enlisted for 10 years in the Coast Guard, doing all the fun, sexy stuff: counter narcotics, interdiction at sea, environmental protection, hurricane response. And then the Coast Guard put me through what's called the JAG program. They funded my law school with the condition that I had to practice as a judge advocate, a military lawyer with them for the rest of my career. So I did that, and I retired from the Coast Guard in 2016. And ran for office in 2018. And if you want to know why, the simple word is just insanity. You have to be insane to get involved in elected politics these days. But I had always been interested in politics. I'd worked on a bunch of campaigns. I was an intern for some elected officials. I managed the State House campaign at one point, and I worked briefly for a former congressman that we had representing this district. And I just saw it as a way to continue public service. So this November will be my 6th year in public office. So 3 terms. We have an 8-year term limit in Florida. You can serve 4 2-year terms. So I've decided to not seek re-election to a 4th term.
Now, you said you have to be insane to get involved, and maybe you were kidding, but what do you mean by that?
Well, look, let me preface this by saying that it's an honor to serve. I'm very proud to have served in what I would say is the 4th most powerful legislative body in the entire world. I'm very proud of that. I think I've made a difference. But look, during my time in office, I've had 3 death threats. I've had a drive-by shooting on my house. Someone shot at my district office. Family members of mine have been threatened. I've had my mailbox knocked down 9 times. I'm the only house on the street that's happened to. I have to believe that that's related to people who disagree with me politically. It's a very volatile time to serve in public office. And not to say that anyone's chasing me out of office, but to do this job well requires 100% effort. It is a tremendously difficult job to do. And I never set out to be a career politician, and I'm going to go back and live under the laws that I helped make, like the framers of the Constitution intended.
Wait a second now. I had no idea that you had that level of threats against you. I mean, did you ever find out why? I mean, did something?
Or who?
Was there a bill?
Did they?
Yeah. So the shooting that happened at my office was declared to be an accidental shooting. But, you know, an accidental bullet that strikes you, you're just as dead. And the one at my house, they believe, was targeted. They never found out who did that. And I do now have, if you're thinking about doing it, I do have some cameras out in front of the house. So hopefully that will deter someone from doing that again. Of the 3 death threats that I had, one was deemed credible. And they did actually assign me a protective detail for a little while at the Capitol, which sounds really cool until about the 3rd time you have to go pee and an agent is standing right here and you're kind of like, okay, I'm good now.
But Spencer, was there some kind of bill that came up or something that you were talking about that you could kind of connect to why somebody would threaten you? I mean, this is state politics. This isn't national politics.
Yeah, and you know, you are making the same mistake that I make all the time, is where you're trying to inject some kind of rationality for insane people. But the one guy that threatened to kill me was related, of all things, over my support for a new fire station in Lehigh Acres. If that makes any sense.
Total sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah, total sense.
Lehigh Acres should not have any fire stations. I mean, what's wrong with you?
Right. And the other times, I mean, who knows? There was an individual that, after this shooting on my house, that called into the office and made some comments about it, who was charged with a 2nd-degree misdemeanor for threatening an elected official. So I will tell you, the sheriff's office here, is a no-nonsense law and order outfit. So they've done everything they could to help keep me and other elected officials safe.
All right.
It's a strange time to be in politics, nationally at the state level.
I forwarded. I'm going to pull this out so I can show people. I forwarded this one question to you. And folks, when I send in on my Facebook page or in my newsletter that you should ask questions, it would be great if you could keep them shorter to an entire page of. I mean, this is one.
That's one question?
I appreciate the question. It's more than one, but mostly it's about Citizens Insurance, and people on Fort Myers Beach have been getting killed with insurance. So I hope you had a chance to look over the question, because I don't want to read the whole thing, but
Sure.
What is going on with Citizens Insurance?
Yeah, let me talk about this both in terms of Citizens Insurance and insurance writ large around the state. I believe, it's my opinion, that this is the most important issue facing the citizens of Florida. The average cost of homeowners insurance premiums in Florida has gone up 103% in the last 3 years. People are getting killed by rising property insurance premiums. And what is worse, Ed and Kim, is, look, no one likes to pay high premiums, but when you're paying high premiums in good faith year after year after year, and then a big storm comes and you need to use the product that you've been paying for, and and this happened to me. I had UPC. My home had about 3 feet of water in it from Hurricane Ian. Literally a complete wash. And my insurance company went bankrupt and said, "Well, we're sorry, Mr. Roach. We're bankrupt. We're closing the doors. Good luck." I had to take out about $125,000 worth of loans to rebuild my home. So it's essentially a second mortgage. And on top of that, my house payment just last month in May went up $1,000 a month. I'm paying a high premium.
God.
And I know that when I need to use that premium, it may not even be there. I'm very frustrated by this. And I had proposed a bill last session, which I believe is the answer to Florida's property insurance crisis. And essentially what it seeks to do is model Texas and model California. I know no one wants to be like California, but they did this under a Republican governor back in the mid 90s, that offers an option, not required, but to have a universal windstorm coverage option, which Citizens would be the vehicle to do that. And where, to answer this gentleman's question, this bill got allowed to have a workshop hearing in the Florida House. And Tim Serio, the guy who runs Citizens, went up against us and put forth his objections. So we did some battle on that. But where I think we differ is the state's solution seems to be to decrease the amount of people involved in Citizens, right? They want to shed policies from Citizens. That's simply not the way that insurance works.
Well, and just so that for people that don't know, Citizens Insurance is if you can't get insurance anywhere else, that's the state.
It's a state insurer of last resort.
Yes.
And I think it should be the state insurer of first resort. And the way that insurance works is you lower premiums by expanding the pool of people paying into the insurance program. When you reduce the people paying in, premiums go up. So I have certainly a very sharp disagreement with Mr. Serio on what the future of Citizens should be. And I am convinced that Florida eventually and inevitably is going to embrace the solution that I'm putting forth. It may be 2 years from now, it may be 10 years from now, but hear me on this. If we had another Ian last summer, or we have one this summer, the insurance market will completely collapse in the state of Florida.
Yeah. So, Spencer, what is the answer to these people on Fort Myers Beach have been paying into these insurance companies, and then they won't pay out? I mean, that's not fair. It's not right.
Do people have any recourse at that point?
Those insurance CEOs should be perp walked into Marcino Motel.
It's absolutely criminal. And I will tell you this, if I commit fraud against my insurance company, you know what happens to me? I go to jail. If the insurance company commits fraud against me, my only recourse is to sue, and the legislature has made it harder to do that, which I think is problematic. But look, and people will criticize me and they'll say, "Oh, Roach, you're a Republican. You're advocating socialism. We need to rely on the free market." And I would argue that what we have now is not a free market. It's not a business model. It's a Ponzi scheme. They're raking in money.
Yes.
And then they're paying these industry executives very high premiums. They're siphoning off the money to corporate entities that can't be touched, and they're leaving the state. They're looting the state of Florida. And you know who's left paying for that? Florida taxpayers.
Yes.
That's not capitalism. That's crony capitalism. It's wrong.
So, in your opinion, what's Jimmy Petronis's grade between A and F?
His grade?
Yeah.
Ooh, I would give him a C plus. I think he's aware of the issues facing Floridians and the insurance crisis. I do think that some of the reforms that we've done have made have been steps in the right direction, but in my opinion, it's not far enough and it's not fast enough. And look, it's my hope that I can continue to lobby CFO Petronis to support my plan. So I want to try to build converts to my plan in the hope that he can get behind it.
Okay, C plus.
Yes.
Everybody's aware of the problem, though. I mean, shouldn't somebody be fixing it?
I think so. And we've got Adam Botana here, who's going to return to the legislature. I'm hoping
Adam, watching his eyebrows
Adam
rise.
can help lead the way. Look, and I'll say Adam Botana was a co-sponsor of my plan. He was helping me to build support for that plan. So I thank Adam for that and any other ideas he has to help stabilize the market here.
So, excuse me. Let's talk about municipalities like Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and others. Sometimes they complain about the state trying to come down and take away their home rule. Why do you agree with that the state tries to, now we got this single member district thing that Adam's behind and some other people are behind, but not everybody's behind it. So are you trying to overgovern the municipalities, or do you think there should be more overgovernment?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, and I will say this. First of all, do I agree that the state is preempting local government? Absolutely. We pass a number of bills every session, and I have filed and passed several of them to preempt some local government regulations. And let me explain why we do that. There are always local jurisdictions that go too far. One of the most problematic jurisdictions is the jurisdiction of the city of Key West. And let me tell you where the state has had to step in with Key West. So Key West had passed an ordinance to ban sunscreen in their jurisdiction. They were working on an ordinance to ban aircraft, to ban makeup. So as a woman in Key West, it will be illegal for you to own makeup products. Or
You're making this all up, right?
No, I'm not making any of this up. And they had passed an ordinance to ban cruise ships from coming into the port of Key West. And the city of Tampa had actually working on passing an ordinance to make gas stations illegal in the city of Tampa. So these are cases where local jurisdictions, in my opinion, are engaging in local tyranny, and the state has to come in and say, "I'm sorry, you can't do that. We're going to preempt that." And under the state constitution, when the state passes a law, it's supreme. The local jurisdiction can't overturn that. Now, I will admit there are lots of areas. The vacation rentals is one.
Yes.
Plastic straw is another. Look, we passed a law my first year in the legislature to preempt Sanibel from banning plastic straws, which the governor vetoed. And he said when he vetoed that, it was not a compelling state interest for the state to step in. So look, sometimes we get it wrong. There's a tension and a balance there. Sometimes the legislature does exceed their authority, and we have to go back and try to fix that, like vacation rentals. But there's a really healthy tension that exists between the state government and the city and county governments, just like that healthy tension that exists between the state government and federal government. So we try to get it right. We think we have a valid reason for doing what we do in extreme cases, but there are a lot of people that will disagree with me at the county commission level and the city level and say, you guys are way too involved in our business. And that's a legitimate criticism.
Well, and I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but a while back there was a preemption on using certain fertilizers and stuff down here on the beach that the beach wanted to not allow, and they were preempted by the state. I mean, why would that be so? What would be the purpose behind that, if you can shed any light?
Yeah, and a lot of the preemption that we has to do deals with ensuring that we have a uniform statewide regulatory code for businesses. And in 1968, we passed a new constitution. Then it was the 6th constitution of the state of Florida, which in my opinion is time for a 7th one. But it gave the local governments home rule powers. Before that, a local government, a city or a county, literally, and I'm not making this up, literally had to go to the legislature to put up a stop sign, to have a parade, to get a permit to have a parade. That was a function of the state legislature. So in 1968, we gave them much more powers. But in 1968, we had 5 million people living in the state of Florida. We now have 23 million people. So when you have businesses that are trying to comply with 410 different regulatory codes to do business in each one of these cities, it's very problematic. So we're trying to ensure that there's a uniform regulatory code for businesses to do business in the state of Florida. That's a big part of that. And that's with the fertilizer as well.
So on the vacation rental thing, why should the state legislature try and get involved and make it uniform about vacation rentals? Every municipality is different, and it's almost like you don't think the people that are elected are smart enough to deal with their own community.
Well, and they're unique. I mean, different communities have unique challenges. And
yeah, this is another one. This is a bill that the legislature has been working on for 14 years. For 14 years in a row, there's been some bill in the legislature that has sought to strike the fine balance on protecting private property rights, but allowing locals to put their own rules on vacation rentals. And we finally passed one. We passed one in 2011. That was the first one, and that first one prohibited any local regulation. Well, we got a ton of pushback. I wasn't there when this happened, of course. We got a ton of pushback. In 2014, we came back under pressure from locals and modified that bill. And now here in 2024, we passed another bill, which we are hoping strikes the balance. If you talk to a city commissioner, they'll tell us we got it wrong. But here's the deal. So constitutionally, both federally and state level, people do have a right to rent their properties out. And you're right, Kim, one size does not fit all. And what we have to distinguish from is what I call home sharing, where you have an elderly widow who wants to rent a room out to a traveling nurse who's living on Social Security, and someone like Marriott or Hilton coming in and buying 6 city blocks in Cape Coral and turning that into essentially a hotel district. And we are trying to strike that balance. We passed a law last year which did a couple of things. It allowed cities to require all VRBOs and Airbnbs to register with the city. It allows for a suspension of that registration if they commit certain violations of city codes, and it put in occupancy caps. So 2 people per room and 2 people per common space to try to prevent this problem of having 60 people in a VRBO in a quiet community throwing this hellacious beach party.
But Spencer, all that aside,
yeah.
I get all the details of what you're saying, but why do you feel like the local community elected officials can't deal with it?
Well, I don't. That's why I voted no on that bill. I voted no on that bill, and I think, and I'm not speaking for my other members, but I think a lot of members in our delegation also voted no. It passed by 6 votes in the Florida House. I believe it was the closest actual vote that we had this session in the legislature. So I was a no vote on that bill.
Okay. So what do you think? Are we done with the vacation rental thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Adams' push to merge fire districts and mosquito boards?
Yeah, look, here's what I think about that. I think it's kind of a universal policy, but it's certainly my policy that when there's an issue that impacts a member's district and only their district, I defer to that member. So this is Adam's district.
Come on.
I'm assuming that Adam knows best what's best for his district.
If the same thing was happening in your district, would you pursue it the way he is in his district?
A merger of fire stations?
Yes.
I don't know. But let me finish this. So I will say that what Adam is doing is he's putting this to referendum. So it's ultimately not going to be Adam's decision or the state's decision. The voters that live there will get to decide, and I think that's the right answer. Let the voters decide. Right. So Adam and people that support that can run their campaign and educate voters, and people who oppose it can run their campaign and educate voters. And I think voters should have the choice to make that decision. And if this were my district, here's what I would want in my district. And if I were voting on this, here's what I would want to know. I would want to see some studies from other jurisdictions of the state that have done this and see, in fact, has it saved the taxpayers money? Has it not? What are the benefits? What are the problems? And if this were proposed in my district, I would want to see that I'm a data analysis guy. I want to see what people do in other parts of the state. And I think Adam has some of that data.
The single member district thing, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
What do you think about the growth in Lee County and how the county board should, are they fine the way they are, or should be a single member district? And we live in Gateway and we love Cecil, but he might not be there forever. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm on the fence about that. So it's hard to know what the right thing is.
With the growth, I mean, if you're approaching 1 million people, for 5 people that's a lot to handle.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle. And I can tell you, Cecil certainly will not
1
be
million.
there.
1 million.
Will not be there
people.
forever. We have a
Yeah.
12-year term
1
limit for county
1 million.
commissioners. I think he's got another full 4-year term left on his term. But look, this is the absolute nuclear football in Lee County politics right now.
Yeah.
Is whether we switch from 5 county commissioners elected at large by everyone in the county to 5 single member districts where you can only vote for your own county commissioner, or whether we do that and add 2 more that are considered at large. Everyone in the county gets to vote. So, look, I think this is an interesting conversation to have. Same thing. I would like to see some analysis on other areas of the state that have done this, and they have. Some states have switched. Some counties have switched back to look at what that did. Look, will it provide more localized representation to areas such as Alva and Lehigh? Yes, I think it would. But the argument on the other side is that it's viewed as a disenfranchisement. And let me explain that. There's an argument that says, essentially what you're doing is taking away my right to vote for someone I want to vote for, and that's an infringement. That's a valid argument too. So I won't have a vote on that at this delegation meeting. I know that's going to come up again. I think that the delegation is running some town halls to help build awareness and messaging on that issue. But ultimately, if it passes, just like the fire districts, the voters of Lee County will make that decision.
I know you said you like to have data and stuff to look at. Do you have enough to make an opinion about how you feel about it?
No, I don't. I'm not going to take a position one way or another on that right now. But if it passes the delegation meeting, it will go to the voters of Lee County.
And there's way many steps before it ever becomes a change that goes into law.
Right.
I kind of feel like the minorities don't get a fair shake in Lee County.
Who doesn't?
The minorities. Minorities don't get a fair shake. I feel like it's positioned where there's really no minority representation at the county level, and I don't know why that is. Is that an unfair thing to say?
Well, look, I think that the representation in terms of race on the county commission reflects the racial demographic makeup of Lee County. And I'm not exactly sure what you mean. I mean, if you're a minority, if you're African American or you're Hispanic, your vote counts just as much as anyone else's in Lee County. Now, it's true that you have a much higher minority population that lives in Lehigh, right?
Right.
And if that were a single member district, it would be much more likely that they would elect someone
For sure.
that represents that community on the county commission. So I think that's true. It would ensure greater minority representation to that extent. Yeah.
So when you drive around Fort Myers Beach, what goes through your mind?
Well, I have said this, and some people criticize me for saying this, but I really believe that you're looking at a good decade before Fort Myers Beach rebounds to where it was before or exceeds that. But when I'm here on the north part of the beach, I look around and I marvel at the progress that has been made in less than 2 years. When I drive south and I'm on Sanibel, I'm sort of appalled and saddened by the state of affairs that's still there, and it's going to be a long time. I mean, every time I look at the pier, at the skeleton of the old Fort Myers Beach pier, it's a reminder that we still have a long way to go. But island people are resilient. We've done everything we can do, and will continue to do to bring dollars back to the Fort Myers Beach community. And I'll tell you that people like Councilman King and your Mayor Dan Allers, man, that guy is everywhere. He's in D.C., he's in Tallahassee.
Yep.
No one is working harder for the town of Fort Myers Beach than Mayor Dan Allers. So if you see him, tell him thank you.
Yeah.
So do you think the governor's going to sign so they can get that $8 million, or you think that's going to fall off?
I would be shocked if the governor vetoes that. And if he does veto it, he's going to hear from me and Adam and everyone else down here on the beach. So the legislature in the budget appropriated $8 million to rebuild your city hall. And just last year, in April of 2023, just a month after session, the governor did sign almost a $12 million aid package to Fort Myers Beach. This budget that we have now also has $7.5 million earmarked for Sanibel to help with revenue recovery. I'm sorry, 7.5 million for Fort Myers Beach,
right?
And 2.5 million for East Periwinkle Bridge reconstruction, and 9.2 million in addition to Sanibel. So, given the governor's actions last year after Ian, I would be absolutely shocked if he vetoes any part of the money coming here. I can't imagine he would do that.
How big is the surplus budget at the state level? How much flush in cash is Florida?
I want to say probably $20 billion. I mean, we
$20 billion.
Florida,
with a B.
Look, okay. Florida is a very, very fiscally sound state. We've got a AAA bond rating. We are very responsible with taxpayer dollars, and I'm very proud of that. Keep in mind, for the folks that are not familiar, we're required to pass a balanced budget every single year in the state of Florida. So we have about the same amount of people as New York City. We have very little debt, and we pass a balanced budget every year. So we're very proud of that.
$20 billion in surplus. Why is the state sitting on taxpayer money, $20 billion worth? That's not even part of the budget. How big is the budget?
We passed a $117.5 billion with the B budget.
$117.5 billion budget that passes, balances, and you have $20 billion of the taxpayers' money sitting in some account. Why not give some of that back?
Well, we think that we are. I mean, we're giving close to $50 million back to Fort Myers Beach. We brought home last year, I think, close to $300 million back to the beach, back to Lee County last session. So I would argue that we are doing that.
From the surplus or from the budget?
From the budget, we allocated it. But I would argue, too, that, given that we live on a peninsula and we know that these storms, it's not a matter of if, it's a question of when, are going to happen again. I think it is responsible to have something in the tank in case we get 2 or 3 Ians in a summer.
Okay.
Or whatever else could happen.
So you think that
so that surplus is...
It's
a rainy day fund.
It's for that.
It's our rainy day fund. And look, we know that in Florida, sometimes it rains a lot.
So one of the things that we're starting to hear a little bit about is an ad valorem increase on Fort Myers Beach. And I'm totally against raising taxes or fees or putting tolls on bridges, anything like that put more of a burden on people that are trying to rebuild their homes. Is there any indication from the state of Florida that if the town of Fort Myers Beach doesn't raise taxes to show that they're doing their fair share of revenue, that the state will never help them again?
No, I'm not aware of that sentiment. That would be a good question for Adam, who represents the area.
Oh, we're going to ask Adam.
I'll tell you this. When I introduce myself to people, I say my name is Spencer Roach and my pronouns are tax cuts. I've signed the taxpayer protection pledge. I would never vote for a tax increase. I'm not a fan of tolls. And look, I know that they need to increase the commercial tax base in Fort Myers Beach, but taxing the folks who have stayed here and have their businesses open and put more of a financial burden on them, in my opinion, is not the answer. And I think the state has demonstrated in good faith that we will come in here and help them out. But man, look, business owners here are struggling, and you're not going to encourage people to open more businesses here if you're taxing them. So I would. Look, I'm not a voter here. I'm assuming that would be a referendum, and the voters here in Fort Myers Beach would vote on that. But if you're asking me, I would not be supportive of that.
So go ahead.
No, I was just wondering if we were going to talk about what your plans are next, or do you want to not move on yet?
Whatever.
Well, no one believes me when I say this, but I do not have a golden parachute or some kind of Machiavellian sort of plan for what's next. I truly don't know.
Well,
I'm literally putting that in God's hands.
Though, were you disenfranchised? Were you disillusioned? Like, what made you decide not to continue to pursue? With no, like, if you said, I'm going to go be a great python hunter, because I've heard that's something.
I've tried it. I suck at python hunting. I never could catch one.
Did you really try it?
Yeah, I tried it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I got a little
You're
baby one,
have
but
more time for that is what I've heard. But, without a plan, somebody leaves something, I'm doing this, but no plan.
Well, a lawyer.
I'm hoping that I will have a plan. I've got 5 months left in office.
Your mom wants you to have a plan.
Yeah. I might be moving back home with my mom and, eating in her kitchen all the time again. But, I've got 5 months to figure it out. I'm actively starting the job search process now. But look, I love politics. I've been active in politics for a long time. There's more to life than politics. I never signed up to be a career politician. And as I mentioned before, it is a tremendously difficult job to do. And this wasn't an overnight decision. I actually wanted to leave 2 years ago. I was not going to run. And the Speaker of the House now, Paul Renner, talked me into coming back. I'm glad I did. I got to chair a committee, which was a longstanding goal of mine. I felt like I did some good things. But I believe also, you got to trust your gut when it's time to make a change or step away. And And I think it was Cher, my mom's a big Cher fan, who said the key to longevity is reinvention. You got to reinvent yourself every 10 years. It's time to move on. And my service in the Florida House, not that this is a qualifier, but look, my health is taking a hit. I'm much less financially secure than I was before. It's a difficult job, and I'm glad we have term limits, but it's time for me to move on. So,
and when I ran into Jenna at the Whale groundbreaking. Thank you. And she said, when she said it, I had a double take.
Jenna.
Yeah. Sorry,
He's just so important that he just goes by first names now.
You make $30,000 a year.
Yeah, this is another point to bring up, and not that I'm in it for the money, but as I mentioned, I
would hope not.
Yeah, I took a tremendous financial hit after Ian. And for those that don't know, Florida legislature makes $29,000 a year. I just can no longer survive on that. And Florida does a lot of things really good. One thing we do not do well, in my opinion, is pay our state employees well, whether it's police officers, firefighters, or teachers. And you think about the governor of this state, the third largest state in the nation, he makes $138,000 a year. Every sheriff in the state of Florida makes more money than the governor. I think there's something wrong with that. And look, Ron DeSantis is a poster child for this. Look, he's his wife doesn't work. He's never owned a home. He doesn't own any stocks and bonds. He's got 3 kids under the age of 5. Yes, there's some perks that come with being the governor, but I think it's an embarrassment to the state of Florida that the governor makes $138K a year. We can do better.
Yeah.
So, especially with that $20 billion in reserve that we have.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
So not only do you only make $30,000 a year, it's not like Tallahassee is a 1-hour drive. Like you have to go to Tallahassee and then you have to stay there. So who pays for the room when you're up there?
Yeah. So the state does give us a per diem when we're traveling. But, this is another great point that I want people to know. And if you ask me something people don't know about the Florida legislature, per the Florida Constitution, it's a part-time job. We're in session consecutively 60 days a year. We have 4 committee weeks or 6 committee weeks leading up to that. We're in Tallahassee about 4 months a year. The year before last, we had 5 special sessions. We spent 22 weeks out of 68 weeks in a year in Tallahassee. And people think that's all we do. There are many, many weeks where I'm working harder and longer hours in the district than I ever am in Tallahassee. So the joke with Adam and I is it's a full-time job with part-time pay. And I'm not complaining, but I have advocated for a long time that, one, we need a full-time legislature because my constituents, I don't know about anyone else's, deserve full-time representation in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, too, is how are you going to do a job, and then have to take off that much time unless you own your own business or something? And even then, how can anyone realistically do that?
Yeah, a couple things happen there, which I've spoken about publicly for years. There are 2 problems with this model that we have now. One is it creates sort of an oligarchy, where the majority of legislators are independently wealthy or retired. And look, I'm a capitalist. I want everyone to make money. But I think the problem is that if you can't serve in Tallahassee unless you're tremendously wealthy, middle-class Floridian voices are drowned out. And the idea of the system is to allow the average citizen to participate in their government. And let me give you an example. If you're worth $400 million, and we have people in the legislature with that amount of wealth.
Wow.
And your property insurance rates go up 54% in a year, that's a rounding error. If you're a middle-class Floridian making $55K a year with 2 car payments and 4 kids and 1 on the way to college, and your property insurance rates go up 54% a year, you're making some real tough choices. And my worry is that those voices are not being adequately represented in the legislature. So it's not that I think Spencer Roach should make money, but I think the system is designed for every Floridian to be able to serve their community and get their perspective out there and then return home when it's over.
How do you fix that?
Well, I've advocated for changing to a full-time legislature with a full-time pay scale. And let me tell you this, the pay scales that we have right now for legislators were set in 1986, implemented in 1992 at $29,000 a year. They've never been adjusted since then.
Wow.
If you just adjust that money for inflation, if you just took into account inflation, that would be $67K per year. That's what $29K bought you in 1986.
Wow. So what would your grade be for Adam Botana? A to F. You gave Petronas a C+, so he's the CFO of the state.
My grade for Adam Botana would have to be at A+. I got to give my fellow legislator an A+. And look, Adam is going into his junior year now, and he has sort of fleeted up the ranks in the Florida House. He now serves as the minority whip. So not only is he responsible for his own bills, but he's been recognized as someone who the rest of the caucus is turning to for leadership, and he's been tasked by the speaker with sort of rounding up.
Wow, I feel bad for the caucus.
Yeah, and keeping us rowing in one page. So
rowing
in the same direction.
Did we miss anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You came with lots of notes.
Yeah, I
Well,
was
we're
just
gonna
wanted
miss you, man. We're gonna
yeah.
miss you up there.
I'm getting old. I can't remember things, so I have to have some.
How old are
days
you?
now.
No, he's
How old are
really
you?
young.
I'm 46.
How many push-ups can you do in 1 minute?
Probably about 50.
Nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Now, you said something's wrong with your health. I mean, is it serious or is it you have a cold?
Or it's none of your business.
Could be none of my business.
No,
I just want to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. I have had a couple minor health issues. I was on a plane to Tallahassee for the governor's inauguration. My appendix ruptured on a plane, and it's just like random weird things that have happened. So
That is.
I'm due for some good luck. I would say that.
When was the last time you were shot at?
The last what?
The last
time I was shot at was in July when someone shot at my house, and I actually kept the bullet hole in my plantation shutters as it's a good talking point.
Wow, like a Jimmy Buffett plane.
yeah, it's crazy, and
wow,
it's an interesting experience. I've learned a tremendous amount.
Yeah,
good, bad, and ugly being in politics for 6 years in Florida.
Well, thank you for your service. Can we get a big hand from our audience for Spencer Roach, everybody? Thank you for bringing your family, and thank you so much for everything. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Kim. I loved it.
Thank
Call
you.
me if I can
Appreciate
help
it.
you anytime, and
All
pray
right.
for Fort Myers Beach.
You make $30,000 a year. How much can you help us? Come on.
I still got to
Just
vote for
kidding.
5 more months. Yeah.
Spencer Roach, everybody. Thanks, Spencer. Appreciate
Thank
your
you so
time, man.
much.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Before we get to Adam Fire Department Botana, I want to tell you about some of our sponsors like Jorge Barrera. Yeah, man. Jorge is buying and selling property on Fort Myers Beach. The real estate market is changing every day, and that's why it's so important to hire a realtor who understands Fort Myers Beach, its beauty and its challenges. Jorge is an experienced agent who would listen to all of your unique circumstances and provide you with a selling plan based on current market analysis data. Like Spencer says, data is king, and his personal expertise to get your property sold. Jorge Barrera is sitting out in his car right now waiting for you to call. Give him a call on his cell phone at 239-791-9893. That's 239-791-9893. Thank you to Jorge for being a sponsor, and Power Block Builders, because eventually you're going to need to build a house, and you don't want to pick a builder in which your house is going to fall down, because that would really suck. So build a house that actually stands up straight. Power Block Builders. They have monthly Meet the Builder meetings to showcase the homes that are currently being built. They can build all kinds of beach homes, from small stick-built cottages to high-end luxury custom homes. And they're the only builder in the area that has 4,500 square foot luxury showrooms 10 minutes away from the beach off Winkler and Gladiolus. And all the models are online at powerblockbuilders.com. Or you can call Power Block right now at 239-849-1919. 239-849-1919. Well, this is a one of those shows where we have two very intriguing guests. Wouldn't you say, Ed Schoonover? By the way, Ed Schoonover was just voted on to the Bay Oaks Committee by a vote of 3-2. I mean, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't 5-0. John voted for you. John voted for you. Scott voted for you, and Jim voted for you. So Dan and Karen, I think, voted for Chris Doyle or Jim Doyle, Bob Dole, whatever his name. What's his name? Chris Doyle? Chris Doyle. So congratulations. Ed is now on 2 committees. He's on the Bay Oaks Committee, and he's on the Anchorage Committee. Are you going to stay on both? Because you're a very busy man going to Africa with your wife and all that, and going to Wahoo Willie's every Sunday for like 12 hours. Are you going to be okay if there are any meetings on Monday? All right. I don't know where my wife went, but we're going to introduce our next guest, the star of the show right now, Adam Botana, everybody. There was a big crowd here, Adam, before you got here. So, I mean, we're usually outside, but it was a rainy Sunday. Adam's been a good friend of the show, and at least he could take a joke. I'm not saying anybody else can't take a joke, but wow, you look taller today.
What's up, buddy? How
are you, man? How are you? How's
Good.
the boat business? Tell everybody about your boat business.
Just washing boats all day long, sir. So my family own Baywater Boat Club and Rentals down in Bonita Springs, so we have 75 boats down there. I always joke that we're the 107th largest navy in the world, right behind Uganda. Let me get out of the way.
Nope.
The mist is here.
Yeah, where'd you go, dear? Oh, she had to go to the restroom. She had to go before I did. That's totally unusual.
Yeah,
So-
aren't you referred to as the head boat washer?
Yes, ma'am.
So, how are you, and how's business? By the way, it's kind of a slow season, right?
Yeah, right now we're starting to slow down now. About 70% of our membership is here 4 or 5 months out of the year, a lot of snowbirds. But we're working on, cleaning boats up, getting everything ready for season. We got a big open house coming up this weekend, Father's Day special. So come down Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Big discounts and no dues for 6 months.
Awesome.
Don't let him take a boat out.
I kept
If
that.
you value what your fleet, do not let him take a boat out.
So let's kind of
You can, not him, not
let's-
Ed.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Let's
not
kind of
him.
touch on some of the same stuff that we brought up with Spencer, like the insurance thing. I mean, even today when I was talking to the folks at Tropical Sands Resort, I always ask people about the insurance payout, and it's not good, Adam. It's not good. The insurance in the state is just not good.
And before you went through the storm. Did you have issues with your personally, like he did with his insurance?
So a little bit different than what Spencer went to. I live on Bonita Beach. I live in a stilt house.
Okay.
It's 10 feet off the ground. It was built in 1968, right after Donna. The water came up 9 feet, 11 inches. There was water in my sliding glass door rack. So I got very lucky.
Okay.
It's a for sale by owner house. So I chose to do the for sale by owner deal and self-insure. And the person who was selling me the house said, hey, that's okay. We won't do no flood, no wind. And I got very lucky. I got very lucky. We had 75 boats out of the water at our marina. We had 50 at the marina. We took 25 inland. We pulled everything out of the water to protect the docks. All 50.
Oh boy.
We've gone through 10, 12 storms since we opened in 04,
Sure,
right?
we know the routine.
We pulled everything out, protect the docks, we're okay. Water came up. We had 6 foot of water at our marina. Okay. All the boats ended back up in the water. So we had stuff spread out across the bay. So we got my family's business wiped out.
Oh, wow.
We were there the day after. But
Now you had insurance for that.
We had
You didn't
insurance.
self-insure that.
No. So this is the thing. We have commercial insurance for that. So we pulled everything out. I mean, the next day we have a great staff. We got 18 employees at Baywater. We got 700 members. We started pulling stuff out the next day, pulling out of the mangroves. And luckily, the water came up. Stuff floated across the bay. We had 50 boats at the marina. We lost 15 of the 50.
Oh.
We were back open in a month, Ed.
Wow.
We were back
When you
open
say
in
you
a month.
lost 15, like they were damaged or like they're lost,
They're-
never recovered?
The damage, salvage, can't do nothing with them. They were there. Now, we did have a customer call. Well, a person say, hey, you have a rental boat in my backyard. And that was 1.5 miles away.
Wow.
Because when you have that many boats, you start counting. I'm
Right.
like, we got to start finding all these boats.
Yeah.
But we were able to pull stuff right back the next day. We got a great staff. We worked hard, and we were open in a month in the boat club
Nice.
side. Because we have to. We had to do we had to rally the flag, right? I mean, we're here. We're open. Come down to Southwest Florida. We're open for business.
So how disappointing is it for the state of Florida not to have somebody like Spencer run again and finish out the terms that he can?
Very, very disappointing. Spencer's a good friend. I give him an A+, an A+++. The first time I met Spencer when I was handing out business cards with my name on the back, Adam, for state representative, way back when at Ray Rodriguez's Senate campaign
Wow.
kickoff.
Yeah.
Good guy. He's like, hey, give me a call. And, that's nice. He was one that we chatted. He says, I don't know where you're going to go in this, but I'm here for you. Give me a call if there's anything. And that's what's good. He's going to be missed in the legislature because that's one of those guys you can have a conversation with. And it's fun to see him debate on the floor, go back and forth on a couple of good bills. Spices it up a little bit.
Yeah, and now he doesn't give a shit, so he could say whatever he wants, right? There's no politically correctness now. He's out in a few months, so.
That's right. So, no, we're going to miss him.
Always appropriate.
He was a
Oh,
great
well, there's
chairman.
no
He did a
kids
good
around.
job.
Yeah.
He did, he was always there.
Yeah.
He was good on the delegation. We can't get, he's going to be missed, but there's a couple people running. I think there's
Who is
another-
running?
I think you got Vanessa Oliver. Actually,
I
she.
think there's 3 people, right?
I think there's 3, but I know Vanessa Oliver pretty good. She's a businesswoman. Owns I think she's a CEO of a ambulance company. So it's good to have more business people in there. There's
Right.
no offense to Spencer, but there's 70% of our legislature are attorneys.
Mhm.
You were talking
Really?
about how do you make it work? It's tough because you'll see them on the floor. They're billing hours, and it's tough. And
Yeah.
nothing against attorneys. I love them. If we didn't have attorneys, we'd still be dueling. out there.
Yeah.
But it would be chase to have some more
I'd
business
like a
people.
good duel every once in a while.
What is your
You
grade?
didn't let him finish about the insurance thing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What is your grade for Jimmy Petronas,
Oh.
who's basically overseeing this?
Well, I would give us. I'm going to say just take a step back and I say the whole legislature. I give us a C. We've done a lot. You can't just point at one person. We've done a lot over the last couple of years. Paul Renner's done a great job, trying to figure out how can we go after these frivolous lawsuits with assignment of benefits and roofs. How many people got free roofs? Well, not free, but you did a deductible. Just pay your deductible, you get a free roof. That roof was supposed to be $40,000. It ends up being $150,000 because you got insurance involved with attorneys. So we took care of that a couple of years ago. We have some insurance coming back on the market, but I strongly support Spencer and Hillary Cassell's bill to create a co-op, make citizens actually a win provider for everybody. I would rather pay the state to help out a fellow Floridian than play some insurance exec flying around on a private jet.
But Adam, almost 2 years after the storm, I still interview people who say I'm battling my insurance company. They have to get a public adjuster. Then they have to get a lawyer. It's not right.
No.
When they had to pay their premiums on time.
I can't believe you're not bringing up the FEMA
No,
thing.
I tell you what, we've had a few things. Property values went through the roof, right? So I have a house in Botana, and it was $2,000, $1,500 for, because it's not in flood. It was a dwelling policy, liability, fire, if the sink leaks, it was $1,500, and when I bought it 5 years ago, now we're $7,000. So we're all feeling this, and we're all feeling this. And we've gone through, I'm fighting our own insurance company because these are aftermarket, they're surplus lines. It's a whole nother animal. And there's a lot of marinas. I know here in Bonita, we fought our insurance company. I know here in Fort Myers Beach, Salty Sam's, they're still fighting stuff. There's a lot of things that need to be worked on. I mean, we went after the attorneys. Now, if the insurance companies don't come, we'll come for you too.
All right, so let's get into the local issues because this is your district.
No,
Fort Myers
local
Beach is
issues
your
with
Fort Myers,
Ed
I
Ryan?
love the local
Really?
issues. I mean, and Fort Myers Beach is your district. And so the first one is they're toiling with a tax increase, which I fell off my chair when they said they were going to. I mean, even the property values are almost back to where they were before the storm on Fort Myers Beach. So the people on the beach that have property are going to get a tax increase anyway because they got a tax break last year because the property values went down so much. So now there's going to be a tax increase, but some of them are talking about raising it even higher. Should the Fort Myers Beach Town Council raise the taxes on the residents?
That is up to the council to make that decision. I'll have to tell you this, is Bonita and Sanibel did raise after we had a huge storm. They ticked up a couple ticks because they have to recoup. There's a lot of things that go there. You can always roll it back. That is up to the council.
Okay, you can always roll it back.
Always roll it back. I mean,
no government ever rolls back a tax increase, Adam. Let's get serious.
We have a lot of conservatives here that we do. That's an issue that we have. It's up to the council. Raising taxes is not always the best way to go. I mean, you do have a lot of property value going up. You're going to have to see what happens. But, I was just having a conversation with Councilman King about this. There's certain things, there's certain times that you have to do that, and tough decisions. You have to make tough decisions, and it doesn't always make it popular, but you have to make some tough decisions sometimes.
Or you could cut the government a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the other argument is that if the town council, I don't look at the budget. I just it's not government light anymore on Fort Myers Beach. I'm sorry.
Especially the fire districts, I tell you.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So the other thing is that
Coming out hot and early.
There's been some whispers that if the town doesn't show some kind of commitment to raise taxes, to have some skin in the game, that the state wouldn't help them anymore. Is that true? Have you ever said that to the mayor?
No, I don't see that. I would say the same with Spencer. We're not about that, in that situation. We're not here to raise taxes. But like I said, at a difficult time where you had the worst storm in history come through. But I mean, this is your local elected leaders. You have to hold them accountable and go from there.
Right.
You've got a couple open seats on the council.
Right.
make your decisions right.
Okay, so let's just take a little sidebar on that. There are 2 open seats. You got to take a phone call there?
No,
Okay, just want to make sure that, I mean, Spencer didn't check his phone at all when he was on the
He's
show.
just taking pictures of me. That's all he's doing.
He's gonna start getting into your personal life too at some
No.
point because they always
we
do
had
Trust
that.
me,
3
last time I got in
know.
trouble.
3
I
minutes?
came home and she was gone.
I don't know what you're saying.
Ruined a whole relationship.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you
3
go.
seats open. So if you were voting, would you vote for Greg Skasny or Scott Safford if you were voting?
Unfortunately, I don't live on Fort
I
Myers
didn't ask
Beach.
you that. It's a
Yeah.
hypothetical. If you did, who would you vote for?
Whoever's going to work harder, sir.
Okay. Greg
Wow,
was
look,
Greg
you
was
have
right. He
really
wouldn't answer the
crafted
question.
yourself over the years.
Start knocking on doors now.
Right. No doubt about it. So let's talk about the fire district. I mean, they've started the study. It does.
Happy about it.
Yeah. It's going to be $100,000 study, which I was like, wow, that's a lot for a study. But I guess consultants are get paid a lot of money, so it's going to be $50,000 for Fort Myers Beach residents and $50,000 for Iona McGregor residents. Should the state cover that cost?
No, I mean, that's the decision that they made. That was a discussion they had, that they went on their word saying, hey, we're going to take a look at this and see if this is a feasibility. We don't want to merge with Bonita. We think it'll be better for us to merge with Iona. We have the same.
Well, they didn't say that.
FHA.
They didn't say that. They didn't say it would be. They said it might be.
We
Might
can
be.
speculate all day, Ed.
Right.
Yeah, we can speculate all day. I'm saying this is what they wanted to do. They agreed to do that. And I said, absolutely. If you guys are going to do this study, like Spencer said, hey, let's have a study. Let's figure it out. It's worked around the state. Go from there.
Yeah.
They voted all for the study, and I'm happy about it.
Where else has it worked? And do you know if they did studies prior to merging?
Yeah, absolutely. North Naples did that. I think Naples actually has a little bit more. It turned into North Collier because they've merged. I know there's some fire districts out east that want to merge because they're a little bit more rural communities. I mean, the thing is too, it's not about just saving money. It's about having consistency in service.
Yeah.
About helping out. I know there's always issues filling employment options on the beach. It's tough. It's really hard. And again, a long time ago, we were there talking, and we want to have a training tower in Fort Myers Beach. Well, what do you do right now? Well, we go to Bonita. Well, how much do they charge you? Well, it's free. They don't charge us anything. I'm like, well, that sounds a lot cheaper than $14 million for a training tower. So there's certain things like that just kind of got my attention from the get-go. And I was like, well, maybe there needs to be taken a look at. But a big thing in the legislature, sometimes we file bills to get people's attention. You have to rattle the cage. That's what happens. There's certain things. Now they're doing their study. In the long run, this is going to be better for the taxpayers.
They'll either find out it saves money or not.
Yeah.
Right.
What I care about is my constituents in my district.
Yeah.
And I know that, that you have some sensational stuff, and I watch your podcast. It looks good. But like even the comments, just you kind of see how people are, So, I knocked on a lot of doors, talked to a lot of people. There's certain things here. John King's fallen asleep. He always does.
So another local issue has been the vacation rental thing that we asked Spencer about. I mean, why does the state feel the need to get involved in that?
This is always a tough one. It's been a tough one for a lot of years. It died a couple times. Spencer was right. We had a pretty close vote on it. I had a closer vote actually with the credit unions and banks, but we'll get into that later. It was only a 4-point margin. But this is a thing that happens when it comes to bigger governments kind of competing back and forth. I like the League of Cities. They're doing a lot better. They're coming up there having conversations. You have past Mayor Holly Smith. We were at meetings 5-6 years ago. You wouldn't even talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is communication, right? We go back to the single member district. I don't want to.
Wait. On the
I knew he was going to do that.
On the vacation rental thing.
Okay.
Does the state goal to get the communities like Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and whatever to back off on the regulation? You're being too harsh on the regulation. If somebody wants to rent their home, they should be allowed to rent their home weekly, monthly, hourly, whatever. Is that what your goal is?
Not hourly.
I'm just saying. I mean, what is the goal? What are you trying to do?
I think there was been talk, and I think Spencer could probably talk on this more. I know Rep. Andrade talked this before. It's not making a registry just to know who are vacation rentals. because if there's a problem, if there's something, I know if I lived in a house and there's a weak rental next door to me and I've been there a long time, that could get annoying. If I
That's
got a
what I'm
kid
thinking.
and there's parties every weekend because parents come there like, we're not doing this at my house.
Right.
We're going to rent a vacation rental on the beach and
Or they're
trash that.
renting it for their kids to come down.
Yeah. So there's a good conversation on both sides.
But I'm totally lost though. Why is Tallahassee better at that than the local elected officials that live on those streets?
That's a good question. We have, you have the questions where you're going over there and saying, hey, why are you doing this? Well, sometimes you have to have that conversation. We'll see where it goes. This is the first time it passed. Does it get vetoed? The hemp bill was vetoed yesterday. So that was pretty surprising. That's a bill I voted down on because I thought it kind of wiped out.
Can we stick to the one topic, please? And I'll let it go. I'll let it go. Yeah. Why does the state feel like they need to get involved? Tell me the reason. Why you keep talking about communication. I get that. But why does the state feel like it needs to get involved in vacation rentals? Why? You can say, I don't know.
The thing is where there comes down to, like I said, communication, whatever. But we come down here and the problems I've always heard is like, I have my house right here. I don't want that person there. And, the biggest thing you can do is get out and vote for the people you want in there. If you don't want vacation rentals, go from that. And we'll see where it happens.
So are you saying that the people that live in those communities are going to their elected officials and they're not getting what they want? So they're coming to you and say, listen, they're screwed up in Fort Myers Beach with this. There's a weekly and then across the street, there's a monthly. So I need you to intervene. Is that what they're saying?
No. So right now, if you try to go further, harsher on your regulations, you lose your exemption.
Yes.
If you go less,
yes, you're fine.
You're fine.
Right.
And that's something that we're done from the state. So that's where we're going from there.
Okay.
If you loosen it, we're okay.
Single member districts. You're in favor.
Yep.
Why?
I think representation is a big thing. Representation, that's a huge thing. Take my race, for instance, when I ran a long time ago, Ed, I knocked on every super Republican, every 4x4 door. So that's every person that votes, every election. I knocked on every one of them in Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Pine Island, Bonita Springs, Estero, and that was a lot of work. I knocked on 10,000 doors myself. Over.
Did anyone ever slam the door?
Oh, hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds. Wow. I've seen.
But no one tried to shoot at you.
Oh no, I was in.
That's crazy.
I was in San Carlos Park, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're a Republican? Let me put my piece down." He had it behind the door. He's like, "Nice to meet you."
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff like that. But the thing is, what I think is it's poor representation for your constituents, because if you're running all around here, we have 180,000 people per representative. So you have there. So if Spencer was running, I don't want Spencer's people to vote for me. If they're outside of my district, I care about my people in my district.
Yeah.
And the thing is, well, we won't get nothing done. Well, Spencer has appropriations for his district. Mike G. Lombardo has appropriations for his district. I don't say, well, that's not for my district. I'm not going to do it.
The delegation is not unanimous on that, though. There was only 3 of you there.
There's 4.
4. Okay.
So,
That's right, 4.
Every one of us represent all of Lee County.
Right.
So you got Senator Martin represents majority of Lee County. You got Representative Tiffany Esposito represents a lot of Lee County.
Jenna.
You got Mike G. Lombardo represents a lot of Lee County. You got Bonita Springs, Estero, Forma. I represent that. Now, Jenna, don't know exactly where she's at on that.
She's a no on that. She's a no-go on that. Come on,
So
you know that.
We'll see what happens.
So I went to that meeting in Lehigh. There is another meeting coming up in Bonita.
Yeah, June 26th. It's in Bonita. We're going to do another town hall down there at the Bonita Springs Rec Center. So come on out. We should have some fun.
Okay, I just want to.
Like
I want to make sure I write it down so I go.
And I want to say, it's good conversation.
Yes,
that's the main thing.
Not all of it was good.
Not all of it
was good. When that guy insulted
Tiffany
the way he insulted her, I wanted to get up and strangle that MFer. There's no reason. There was no reason for that. You can disagree with policy, but do you have to be an ass like that? Why do you have to be an ass like that? And then for people to cheer,
so inappropriate.
Right. And she took it like. She took it like I've been shot at before. Your words aren't going to mean crap to me. What you said.
Well, and good for her, because
it was almost like you. I think I said this before. You grow up when you're growing up. Your dad always tells you never. If I ever catch you saying something to a girl or hitting a girl, I'm going to whoop your ass.
You don't say stuff to people.
I know it was
like
insulting, but it made it 10 times worse because it was a male toward a female, which was it was totally insulting.
Okay.
It comes with a business. You got to have a thick skin here. Spencer can vouch about that, but you have folks that, get a little following, and they think they're, like, hey, put your name on a ballot.
Yeah. Does he have 92,000 followers or less than that? I haven't checked. So
or have
I will check though.
An intelligent point to argue, but to launch personal stuff.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. I mean, you can say what you want.
Oh boy, can you?
So you helped bring a lot of money back to Fort Myers Beach. What's the total? Yeah. That's why John King's making so much money now.
Go ahead. I'm going to make sure your math is right now.
So this year, I think we're alone at 18 million for this year, roughly, with the town hall and the revenue replacement. Those are my 1 and 2 with the governor's office. And right after that is, pretty much on par with Sanibel. They're at 20 million too with revenue replacement and just dredging, slough dredging. We've got a ton of money we brought back with over $350 million altogether as a legislature last year, and then another $100 million
for the
this
county.
year.
Yeah,
with
countywide.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, with our districts for, pretty much, you go Port Charlotte in the Spencer's district. My district unfortunately was ground zero.
Yes.
But the support we've had, even from, I'm going to say it, from the federal level, the state level, it's been great. We're just trying to rebuild and get back to it.
So what are the chances the governor doesn't sign the budget and the town doesn't get its $8 million for town hall?
Very, very little.
Right.
I mean, we've had conversations, they're getting wore out with us talking about this. We check in with the governor's office. Hey, everybody has a boss, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. We check in with them all the time. They know that this is our top priorities.
Why does he wait so long to sign the budget? I mean, does he have to? Does it take that? He's signing bills every day.
He doesn't have to sign it till July 1.
And if he doesn't sign it, it goes into law anyway.
Correct.
Okay, so July 1st, the town will know whether they're getting the money for town hall. They're going to purchase a building down at it's kind of like the
I think it's a great idea because the first year they came here, they wanted 16 or 17 million.
Yeah.
To rebuild.
No, and he did a great job.
More. I was like, well, this is a much better way. They got a use of this building.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful building. It made it through the storm. Let's keep it rolling.
So so let's say the governor signs the budget. The town gets their $8 million. The town buys that big green building. They have a nice town hall, way nicer than the previous one, and now they have this piece of property, which is basically in the downtown district. It's expanding a little bit more than where it is in Times Square. Would you advise the town to sell that property or to try and put toll booths at the end of both bridges? What would you say to toll booths?
I'm not a fan of tolls. That's for sure. You always have a problem here on the island with traffic. It's an island.
Never going away.
Never. When I started door knocking, I would legit park at Fishtail. And I walked all day, and
it's never going away.
It just, it's an island. It's 2 lanes on, 2 lanes off. It is what it is.
1 lane on and 1 lane off. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, but should they sell that property? I mean, the municipalities should they be in the property ownership business?
If they can make a nice park out of it, if there's something there they can do and utilize that,
or
if they can
workforce
make
housing.
I mean, there's workforce housing. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that you can do with that to make it better, and go from there. That's the council's decision.
So the state owns the Matanzas Pass Bridge. The county owns the Big Carlos Pass Bridge. What would the process be if that the city would have to go, the town would have to go through to put tolls on the bridge that they don't own, that they've never had to repair, that they've never had to rebuild to make revenue from that bridge?
I'll have to come back to you on that
Okay,
one.
all right. It's never come up before, right? In all your 70 years.
Well, I mean, there's been Sanibel had a toll.
Yes.
Boca Grande has a toll to get there, but I think they own the bridge. So there's a couple of different things, but we can definitely circle back, talk to our staff. We got our new LA Annabella. You met Julie before.
Yes.
Julie's great. Julie Inman, she's now working at Baywater, so she's helping me out there. Folks retired, so she's doing good there. So we got Annabella, so she'll be more than happy to help you.
Did we miss anything that you want the residents of Fort Myers Beach to know? I know you're doing a kickoff campaign for your next 2 years. Thursday, Tuesday? When is it?
We're doing it Thursday night at the Marina at Baywater. We'll have the tent up. We'll have a food truck there, so feel free to come over 6:00. Folks, just do your research when you're voting for people. And if you see somebody working hard, support them, help them out. That's the thing. We just need normal people to run. You don't have to be special. I mean, if I got elected, anybody can get elected.
Well, apparently you do have to have a certain amount of money though to do it, because
if you
live on 30,000 or 29,000.
Well, if you were a single member district, we wouldn't have that problem. The thing is, you just can't buy an election. That's the worst thing you want to do. And Spencer's right. I believe our pay should be increased. It's
At least a
it's
little.
a lot. It's tough. Luckily I'm in a family business where it's tough, but now I got to go back and forth. But it's tough for firemen. It's tough for
the average
teachers.
Joe or Jane
Yeah,
to
and
run. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do
it's
it.
a tough, and there's other states out there like Iowa's done something where they do a task force to figure this out.
Yeah.
There's been talks like we should get paid what teachers get paid to kind of give an idea. So there's a lot of
I think I
talk.
kind of get it too. Is they don't want people to get hooked into this lifelong where they're sucking off this, the teat of the government. Like,
It's never good when your whole families get elected, right? That's not a good situation.
Or your job has never been anything other than a senator, then a president, and then you're 80 years old and you're drooling. I mean, it's sorry. This isn't a vote one way or the other. I'm just saying.
One man, one vote. But
yeah.
No. This we have term limits in Florida. It's great. I mean, I don't think Spencer or I would ever be here if there wasn't term limits. Because it opens the seat up and you get out there and there's some good things. But now even being in the process, you're like, there's a couple issues with that too. So
how long does it take to really get your feet under you when you go up there? It's got to be intimidating
every 2 years. I mean,
yeah.
It's like
and you're always like Byron Donald said when he came on our show, I'm always campaigning. And it's true.
The first couple of years, 2 years, one mouth, right? Listen, year 3, we're trying to figure out 4. Now we're feeling comfortable. 5, 6, we're flexing.
Then you're done.
And then 8, 7, 8. That's when you're, high chair or you've been there a while. You know what's going on. So we'll see what happens. But we had in our class. I mean, Spencer, how many did you have in your class, in Perez's class when you started? How many members total? So we had 27. He had 27. And I think of that class now, there's probably 12. Around 11. So people, there's other opportunities. There's other seats that come available. It's a lot because you're going back and forth and family. There's a lot of things that, make a difference.
Why should people on Fort Myers Beach vote for Adam Botana?
Let me just ask one question.
You killed me. I asked a question and you totally buried it.
You were saying like he's a lawyer and there's a lot of lawyers up there. So how difficult is it for someone who's not a lawyer to
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So my father, luckily he's in the business and he's helped out. He's done in the boat business. He's done now. He's retired. He's got the Chihuahuas up in Montana in Winnebago. So he's having fun.
Winnebago.
But that's why we got to readjust. And that's why I'm having Julie come into the marina because we do have a great staff, but we just need eyes and ears there. But it's tough because you go up there, you hopefully with the next speaker, I think it will be, you fly up Monday. You have committee meetings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can fly home Friday and get back to work, take care of the family, and do some work. And it's really hard. I mean, it's tough. So, November we'll be up there for a week. December probably 2. January 2. Then you're home back and forth. And session starts. You're there for, 60 days. And then you try to make it home on weekends. But it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of things. The thing is, though, folks, this is, it's a part-time job. You got to treat it that way. You got to go home and do your job and work and talk to people. You just can't be running around the country all the time.
That's what I like about it. That's maybe pay a little more, but it's still a part-time job.
Yeah, you gotta keep it part-time.
And our president's a part-time job right now, but for other reasons. I mean, just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's not a national show. He's fine. He's doing a fine job. So and now answer my question, please. Why people on Fort Myers Beach should vote for you?
Just look at my track record. I mean, I try to keep everybody happy. Can't keep everybody happy. That's the way it goes. Come to the polls. If you like me, vote for me.
I got a message from Ron Fleming.
If you don't,
I'll read it to you after the show.
Vote for the other guy.
Is somebody running against you? How dare they?
No, absolutely. This is a young kid.
What's his name? You don't have to share it.
It's
Democrat?
Mitchell Schuyler, I think his name is. I had a conversation with him last year when he ran. I called him up, said, "Hey, you're running." He was kind of surprised when I talked to him.
But it's nice to see somebody young getting involved.
To put your name on the ballot, that's a big deal. I mean, for anything, that's a big deal. And after I said, "Hey, let's get together for a beer and see, if there's something that you want to see different, there's something I can help you with." I think a lot of this around the state, there's a lot of people being propped up to run.
Sure.
And, it puts our name on a ballot and gets some recognition.
And the last time a Democrat.
Are you going to ruin his
you gonna vote for me, Ed?
Oh, I am going to vote for you. There's no doubt about it. I have nothing to hide. The last time a Democrat won any election in Florida was what? The last Ali Frazier fight. I mean, it's been a long time.
we had Nikki Fried won for Ag Commission. That was a few years ago.
Ag Commission.
That was when
that's a big deal.
But that's the thing. That DeSantis,
That's a big deal.
It
in
is.
Florida.
30,000 votes was all it was between DeSantis and Gillum.
Yeah.
What
do you think went wrong with DeSantis's run for president? I mean, I thought for sure he had a shot. It's just you can't get past Trump in any way.
I don't think anything went wrong. I think he did the right thing. I thought he put his name in the hat. I knocked on doors in Iowa at 17 below temperatures.
Wow.
You know, I went out there and caucused. You know, it was great. It was a great experience, and I got a feeling I'll probably be doing it another.
You think
3 years.
he's still it didn't kill him. It didn't bury him like maybe it buried Nikki Haley. You know, she looks fine now too.
You know, we'll see what happens. I 100% Donald Trump support him. You know. I mean, like, hey, it happens. It's elections, the way it goes. You know, we'll go from there. He dropped out. We're going to see and try to get Donald Trump across the line. We need to.
Do you think Dan Aller should be the mayor again, or do you think he should drop out?
He's done an amazing job. I think he'd be great. You know, I think he would do an awesome job. I have to say, your whole council, I mean, to be honest with you, when I was first elected, it was tough. I mean, we didn't hear anything from Fort Myers Beach for 2 weeks. And I mean, Ed, you and I mean, we didn't get along, but I think the storm brought us back together.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and that's what happens. You know, you have to figure that out.
Yeah.
And
but that was horrendous back then.
Yeah.
Last government. Yeah.
It was horrible.
You
but,
should apologize.
You know,
if I said anything offensive, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's all politics.
We had to bump heads a little bit, but it's good.
But you've always come on the show, and you've always been great to us, and we'll always be grateful to you for that.
And we won't bring up anything about your girlfriend, a potential girlfriend, or ruin anything for you on this show.
And you've been great to Fort Myers Beach. I mean, I know there's some animosity with the fire board and the whole thing, but differently, you really, I mean, you brought some money back, and you've been great to the Fort Myers Beach. Or do you disagree with me, John? All right. He's shaking his head. Yes.
You know, the thing is, you're not going to always make everybody happy, but, you know, like the old saying, strong and bitter words usually support a weak cause. You know, let's just see where the study goes and see where everything ends up.
Adam Botana, everybody, a big hand from everybody. Thank you. Thanks for coming, Adam. Thank you for everything you do for us. We appreciate it. He every time we ask him to come up. Wow, that was weird. You didn't give Spencer a kiss like that. That was totally weird. No, I'm kissing me. Adam, come on. All right. No, I mean, he's been great to the show. So thank you for
Adam.
Adam.
Gonna read some stuff.
Thank you to Spencer. I'm just going to let everybody know that tomorrow we'll be at Wahoo Willie's. We're going to ask the mayor about the top 10 list, which was an interesting thing. Is even today when there was a boo-boo. I walked through the Wyndham today. I mean, I'm telling you, I walked through the Wyndham like 19 months later. There's nothing blocking that building, and I am totally in shock. Why? Forget that they're not on the first list, because they did do the town a favor with the sand. They were allowed to put the sand there when they did the berm, but there's no fence. It's so unsafe. It's really, anyway. So we'll ask him about the top 10 list, and we'll also ask him about the tolls. Thanks, Spencer. And the toll bridges, and you guys got some TV time on Wink and NBC about the whole toll thing. So we'll talk about that and everything else that's going on here on Fort Myers Beach. And hopefully it'll be sunny tomorrow. It's sunny now, so come on down to the beach and hang out. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow at Wahoo Willie's. Bye-bye.